Thierry. We're here in the lift talking to Jonathan Cabiria, is that right?
Yes.
I will let you introduce yourself and explain what you're doing. What's your job?
Sure. Jonathan Cabiria, I'm a psychologist and a professor and a life coach. And why I'm here at Lift Conference, I just finished a one-year research study about people living their lives in virtual worlds.
What make you think this was necessary?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, what had happened was that I heard all this talk about Second Life, the virtual world Second Life. There was a lot of hype last year about it, and I thought, well, this sounds interesting. This is a very sociological phenomenon. Let me look into this and see what this is all about. And I was very skeptical. Maybe a little cynical, and I went in and I was quite frankly very surprised at my psychological reaction to interacting with avatars, which are just the graphical representations of people, the little cartoons, how I reacted to them as if they were real. And I pulled back and I thought, wow, why am I treating these cartoons as if they're real? This is totally unexpected.
So what did you do? What did your study consist in?
Well, what I thought I'd do is I'm very interested in social justice and helping marginalized individuals in some way feel more connected with society. And a lot of people that I deal with professionally are very depressed and isolated. They have a sense of being disconnected. A lot of the people that I work with are gay and lesbian people, and certainly in the United States, they are still very marginalized and have a lot of psychological problems because of this marginalization. And so I thought, I wonder if Second Life and other virtual worlds can be a useful tool for psychologists and sociologists and educators to help marginalized people, and could it be a very useful tool for gay and lesbian people for themselves? What I did is that I went into Second Life and joined a lot of groups, a lot of gay and lesbian groups, research groups, educators groups, and I just sent a message out and said, I'm interested in doing a study on gay and lesbian lives in virtual worlds, and I'm looking for volunteers. And the response was overwhelming. I don't know if you've ever done this kind of research project, but you can spend just months and months and months trying to get people to participate because, of course, you're not paying them. And it's a very large time commitment, and you're asking them to bare their souls. So it takes a long time, but I think because gay and lesbian people want so much not to be marginalized that so many stepped forward to participate, and I was frankly overwhelmed by the response.
How many people did participate in your study?
Well, the initial response was 130, which was way more than I needed. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of paperwork involved in doing an analysis of 130 people. And then eventually narrowed it down to about 35 or so, and they became my core group. And then after a period of time, I brought that down to about 14, and then I went more in depth with those 14.
And what did you do with these people?
Well, what we did is, first I did just the standard surveys, the demographics to find out how old they were, where they lived, but I also then did questionnaires about their attitudes about themselves, about their self-esteem, about depression, and their level of outness. Are they out as gay and lesbian people in the real world, and what they feel about that? And so I had this baseline of information about them in the real world. Then I did the same questionnaires and process with them in the virtual world, and I had the ability to compare the two. And just to give you a sense of one of the interesting findings, almost all of them were at some level of being closeted, of being hidden as gay and lesbian people in the real world. All of them were out, very visible out gay people in the virtual world. And then over time, as I resurveyed them again, more and more of them had started coming out in the real world.
So it's like having introverts becoming extroverts through the second life, is it?
Well, it's very interesting that you put it that way, because one of the things that happens with the gay and lesbian people who are repressed and are in the closet is they become withdrawn, and they may exhibit what seems like introversion, when in fact they're extroverts, but they're not allowed to be. So they go into the virtual world, and all of a sudden they are allowed to be themselves, and they can be the extroverted personalities that they were underneath. And then they go back into the real world more extroverted because of this experience. It was a pretty profound thing to witness.
But if I would define my avatar in Second Life, I would probably not have extra kilos and would look thin and wonderful. So of course my Second Life avatar would be very much different. So it's not much of something that is surprising that people actually are different, because they can hide behind something which is nicer or better or stronger. But your finding is not so much about how they actually changed through Second Life, but the thing that happened afterwards.
Yes, exactly. And when we go into Second Life and create our avatars, we generally create an avatar that is our idealized self, the person we would like to be.
So what do you look like in Second Life?
Well, what happens is that over time, people tend to gravitate more toward the real life look over time, and the real life personality over time, if people are in Second Life long enough. But yes, you're quite correct. The most interesting finding is not what they do in Second Life, it's what Second Life helps them do in real life, and this speaks to the permeability between virtual worlds and real worlds. It's not an either or. It's actually one, as one of my participants said, it's one life. And that the virtual world is a part of the real world, and it allows them to discover themselves in a very safe way that the real world might not allow them to do.
And what did it change for them then?
Well, it changed a lot of things, because if you are a gay and lesbian person and you are in the closet and you are hidden, you cannot really lead an authentic life, because you are hiding from your family, you're hiding from friends, you're hiding from from your friends, and so you're not being very authentic, you're not being very honest. And the most wonderful thing about this is that they've learned to live authentically. They are no longer living a lie to other people. They have the courage and the support to come out to other people and to express themselves. And sometimes it's very painful transition, but in the end, it's worth the short-term pain. In virtual worlds, people tend to be a little more tolerant because there's so much difference in virtual worlds. So I would have to imagine that non-marginalized people who participate in virtual worlds are more exposed to more differences than they might be in the real life, and would be able to bring that back to the real life and be more accepting of the differences they see there. But I have not done that research yet, so this is just an assumption.
Is it going to be a Second Life, a virtual life, a therapy for marginalized people?
Well, that's what I'm proposing, that certainly psychologists add this to their toolkit when they're dealing with marginalized people who are suffering these negative affects because of their marginalization, that they engage in a safe environment where they can explore the facets of their identity in a better way than they can in real life. So yeah, that's one of the recommendations, but also for educators. Well, this can go on, but I'm also now doing research on children and Second Life. And one of the things that we found so far is that shy children, withdrawn children, step forward and become leaders when they are in a virtual classroom.
Okay, so if we have questions, do we find you on Second Life now?
You can find me on Second Life by looking up John Media, which is one word, and Renegade is the last name. And certainly if you see me on there, stop by and say hi.
Okay, so we see you there. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much.
Bye.